Hello, one and all, and welcome back to D&D Beyond's Roll in the Family, presenting The Slumbering Forest, our first adventure featuring three families, grown-ups, and kids playing D&D together. What? Oh my goodness, can you believe it? I'll go ahead and introduce our amazing players one by one, and as I do so, they'll go ahead and introduce the character they'll be playing today, and this is our fifth episode of The Slumbering Forest. First and foremost, Mr. Dave Walters.
B. Dave Walters. I am playing Hatch the Turtle. And let's see if I can do it right. Kaylin.
My name is Kaylin Walters, and I'm playing Trinity, a Wood Elf Angel.
And Lexi.
Hi, my name is Lexi Walters, and I'm playing Demora, a Tiefling Paladin.
Amazing. We also have here today Kelly Knox.
Hello, I'm Kelly. I'm playing Ren, a Circle of Stars druid, and over there is Maddie.
Hi, I'm playing Michael the Frog Wizard, who needs to make sure all the queens love him.
As well as Mr. Adam Bradford.
Hey, I am playing Barnaby, a fawn, not satyr, warlock, and this over here is my I rehearsed it so many times. Is my son.
There you go. I'm his son. I'm Luke, and I'm playing a human sword sage monk named Talisman.
Incredibly cool. Guys, if you're tuning in now, this is our penultimate episode, our second to last episode of this incredible adventure, The Slumbering Forest, which is a twisted fairy tale with prophecies, unlikely, and in fact, we now know for a fact, incorrectly titled princes, 4 fairy queens, and a forest filled with fey magic. Our adventure began many weeks ago with a council in the Port of Sapphires as the Slumbering Forest, a land that was once known as the Kingdom of Caverly, had been placed 18 years ago under a sleeping curse by a wronged Queen of Fairy, the Queen of Dusk, after the King Leonor and Queen Lorabelle did not invite the Queen of Dusk to the naming day of their infant prince son, Lionel. Almost 18 years after that, the prophecy said that a now sort of adult Prince Lionel would arrive to set wrongs to right. But that clock was ticking way, way down, and with no desire to let this thing play out according to one, reappearing human prince, instead, the powers that be said, hey, let's get the realm's best heroes and get them on the job. And the realm's best heroes is exactly who they got. They got Trinity and Ren, a ranger and druid from the Elven folk that knew the Sleeping Forest like the back of their hands. They got some heroes from the far north, the well-renowned life cleric and mystic Hatch, and the stoic, laconic hero monk of the far north, Talisman. And then some people familiar with the magic of the Slumbering Forest itself. Barnaby, a warlock of the Queen of Midnight up until very, very recently in the campaign, and or actually technically still the summoned champion of the underworld, Tiefling Paladin Demora, and a previously human, now very much frogified wizard, Michael, who had felt the magic of the Slumbering Forest firsthand. These heroes set off with what they believed to be the Prince Lionel, brought to them by the gnomish advisor Ziceris. They later found out to be a cursed fisherman whose real name was Frederick, along with Buford the Boar, have traveled to the Slumbering Forest, defeated the guardians set at the gate, made it all the way to the realms of Midnight, where Trinity was named champion of the Midnight Queen after getting into her good favor by calling it like she saw it, which the Queen of Midnight is a huge fan of. Receiving the Cloak of Midnight, arriving at the court of the Dawn Queen, where Talisman bested Auradont, the champion of the Dawn Queen, to win the blessing of the Queen of Dawn. as well as a very fleet of foot race with Trinity defeating Jathra the cheetah tabaxi, and an incredible eating contest where Demora put the Minotaur Luna to bed, scarfing down not only her own food, but her opponents as well. Some clever spell casting on the part of Barnaby, Wren, and Hatch. And Michael, the frog wizard, discovering some sinister shenanigans on the part of the shaman Alaklasmi, who may not be all that they seem, and set some fiendish thorn hounds to chase down some stranger in the forest. The very end of our last adventure, our friend set off for the last Fey court left in the forest of the three sisters of the Dusk Queen. They headed to the Queen of Midday and the Midday Market to receive their last blessing, so that if push comes to shove, they will have all of the blessings of the Dusk Queen's sisters. Guys, for those watching after this little summation of the adventure thus far, this is a stream for charity. We are here supporting Direct Relief, an amazing charity that provides resources and all kinds of aid and support to our first responders and healthcare workers in this giant age where we need to all come together and face this global crisis arm in arm and hand in hand, although maybe not with social distancing requirements, but you understand the metaphorical and figurative level in which I mean that. So go ahead, dig deep, reach into those pockets, and let's support the people who are being heroes right now on Earth while we tell you the story of these heroes in the realms of Lyra. Without any further ado, we dive now back into our adventures in the realms of Lyra as our 7 brave heroes, their boar companion, and a very befuddled fisherman in a suit of full plate armor head down the forest pathways to the Court of Midday. As they all head off, you guys have had a long rest, so you are now back fully healed. You have all your spell slots back. As you are heading off to the Court of Midday, is there anything you guys are doing as you're traveling away from the Court of the Dawn Queen?
Presumably, once she set runners out looking for our unknown person that disappeared in a dramatic flash of smoke and fire, I don't know that they pick up anything else on his trail other than he was heading towards the bazaar.
They did not pick up. So when those runners come back, none of them are able to track the teleportation of that figure. However, far off from there, they do find the sort of, hunters of the Dawn Queen were able to discover a number of other secret caches of alchemical sort of magical works that the shaman Alaklasmi was taking. A big other piece of information I will give is that Alaklasmi has not been in the employ of the Dawn Queen for a very long time. Alaklasmi only came into the service of the Queen of Dawn probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and even then would often mysteriously vanish for long periods of time. Yes, Hatch.
The only thing Hatch would be trying to figure out is if it looked like he put the feed bag of slumber lilies on Sir Alamath.
Ooh, very cool. Go ahead and give me a nature check if you would be so kind.
Ren, would you help?
Sure. Nature check.
Oh, wait, let me use my digital dice.
Yep.
It is so easy.
True. Not counting whatever Ren is going to do, I'm at 13.
Natural 20.
Hey!
Oh my God!
So, correction, I'm going to help Ren.
Ren, you're looking at the various stuff. So the runners of the Dawn Queen, sort of her hunters and trackers, come back with some of the stuff that you're taking a look at. Cross-referencing it with the sort of remnants, because I think you guys took that feed bag, right?
I think so.
The feed bag that you see is made of species of flowers that are kind of endemic and natural to the slumbering forest. looking at the feed bag, it's also not a magical feed bag. It looks like a feed bag from someone's horse. And it looks like the kind of horse that would be out in the sort of like the sort of like hillside towns and villages near the Port of Sapphires. Looking at that feed bag, you would guess that this was some quick improvisation on somebody's part. Like someone had a feed bag from their horse, there were flowers nearby, they needed to get past Sir Alamanth, there you go. What you notice in this stuff from Alaklasmi's caches, from these little alchemical things around, this doesn't look like druid stuff to you. And it begins to paint a picture with the runes and standing stones that you saw around that cauldron, which you know were not real druidic magic. The stuff they're finding here are like fine stoppered glass bottles with strange and potent alchemical reagents, little corks and copper screw caps, and little black velvet pouches of summoner's salt, strange ashes, and things like that. There you go, right there. If you had to guess, you would say that Alaklasmi was not a druid at all, and may have in fact been a warlock. And on a natural 20, I will say this. The thing that is confusing to you is that this may have been, much like Barnaby, another Fey, like arch-Fey warlock, which means that they would be really good at disguising their stuff as druidic because it has that Fey magic to it, but is actually extremely arcane. And again, with that nat 20, I'll go even farther to say, and Barnaby, go ahead and give me an Arcana check as well with advantage based on Ren's nat 20. Let me know what you get when you get that roll.
That is a 16.
Ren, you look at the magic inherent in these supplies. You can tell that the source of this Fey magic is not coming from a Fey entity that is present in the material world. So in other words, you can rule out the 3 fairy queens that all are currently living in the Slumbering Forest. And I'm going to say, Barnaby, with that 16, you feel this strange, like, attachment to obviously this sort of arcane stuff you're very familiar with, but you smell the smell of like sweet lavender, and this sort of, the smell fills you with like a melancholy, sleepy kind of sensibility.
It doesn't take much.
But you are vibing with some of this stuff, not necessarily the spells that were being cast, but rather the source of this magic was something very potent that you recognize. So that's everything you get from those arcane things that you are investigating. Michael, yes.
This isn't as cool, but can he soak in his barrel for an hour so he doesn't dry out?
Absolutely.
So cool.
This water is getting funky. You've been going through the woods for a couple days. I'm going to say that, Michael, a couple of just any kind of water you spend enough time in. Now there's like some algae in here. A couple lily pads are starting to kind of grow up in the water. Some dragonflies are like hanging out on the edge of the barrel. It's getting swampy. It's getting swampy in the barrel. But no, you guys head off down the pathway towards the Court of Midday. Yeah, Trinity.
So while Trinity's walking, she's like trying to focus because that's what she's best at. But then she like turns around, sees something. This one soldier looks at it and then's like, "Oh, and then keeps walking with everyone else."
Oh, that's so fun. Trinity's a little bit of Jothra there in Trinity. That's great. Yeah, you're so fast with these boots. There's so many interesting things around to pay attention to. Wonderful.
When I see Trinity doing that, I just say like, yeah, but you couldn't beat me in a race. And keep
Amazing. Wonderful. Wonderful.
We ain't got time for it right now, but it's something I want to see.
As you're all traveling, I'm going to ask for a group survival check. So everybody roll a survival roll and let me know what you get.
Natural 1, which is a 1.
Oh no. What did Trinity get?
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Hell yeah. What do we get here, Talisman?
19.
19. Very good. And what do we get? What did Hatch get?
18.
18, 19, 20, and a natural 1. What did Demora get?
21.
21. Awesome. What did Michael get? An 8. Oh no. And what did Ren get?
20.
20. Okay, that's a bunch of 20s, 21, and 18 and 19. You guys are totally fine. Traveling down the path, there are plenty of opportunities for people to find food, grab sustenance. And again, the paths of the forest move you almost magically quickly through this place. Before long, you guys begin to hear the hubbub and bustle and excited chatter. You hear birds chirping, laughter. You hear many strains of music as though from multiple groups of musicians. You hear the rattling of goods, and you hear, wet sort of like metal clanging and big scoops of food being put into bags. And you round the corner and you see an incredible fairy marketplace. The sun is now directly overhead, beating down, but there are huge, big, full summer trees everywhere. The trees here are bright, deep green, fluttering in the breeze. So there are places where the sun is bright and shining on the grass, and then deep pools of shade where the breeze comes through. In between these three hills, you see in sort of the cradle of the hills, a massive fairy marketplace. It is an outdoor festival. You see that there are huge tents put up. There are like giant ropes of colored pennants and banners fluttering in the breeze. There are big maypoles that have like fluttering ribbons, and then big, like long triangular banners flying and flapping in the breeze. Squawking birds. You see that there's giant trees everywhere that in their roots, all these like barrels and stands and tents. So there's tents, and then there's like little sort of, 1 foot tall fairies that have set up a shop just on top of barrel heads selling fruit and nuts. You see there's like satyr weaponsmiths and armorers selling new weapons and gear. There's an ancient like purple skinned hag with like barnacles on her face selling potions out of a strange, dark, and mysterious canvas tent. There are also people that instead of having their own tent or vendors like booth, just have sort of those like popcorn vendor like trays around their thing, like selling stuff out of their thing here. You see that up at the top of the hill, there is a throne, but the queen, you can see the queen of midday is this fiery golden woman who's in a robe, who's not even in her throne. She has a coin exchange stand up there and is like changing people out for various currencies. And the marketplace is dominated also by a massive 30-foot tall treant, who is the central tree, who you see is like moving wagons around from one place to another, lifting things up, and appears to be like one of the central authorities of the marketplace. Again, huge ruckus and roar of this fairy market. Hatch.
First of all, I love this. But Hatch is going to lean over to Barnaby and say, hey, don't be tricky.
Hey, I don't know why you would be accusing me of such behavior. I mean, obviously, I know how to put it on when I need to put it on. And listen, like, I'm going to be really, really nice here because this place, this entire marketplace is really intense. You see what I did there? It's intense.
It's intense.
So as all of you approach the market, you can see sort of like coming out of the woods, there's like various little caravans. You see that there are like little wagon trains of traveling tinkers and different merchants and salespeople. And there's also a lot of people that are just coming with like arms full of their own goods. And then many people who come with full coin purses that have traveled here specifically to like take place in the market and engage in the festivities. There are also a lot of like food like areas around, like a big sort of carnival with like stages of musicians playing music. It has a big carnival atmosphere to it. As you approach, you see that even though there are not like walls to the market, there is sort of like a central line where people are congregating to approach a small podium with a book and register. The woman who's at the register you recognize as a sort of fey-blooded fire genasi. She has like dark red brown burning skin, almost like hot brass is what her skin looks like. She has like fiery eyes and fiery hair. She's wearing a red coat with golden epaulets and has this incredible flaming scimitar at her side. And you see that she is appearing to like take people's name and ledger down, and is also having people swear oaths as they get to the front of the line. You also probably can look. Actually, anyone here who wants to make a perception check for me? Yes, Michael.
I will.
Cool, go for it.
We ain't got time to be sitting in this line, folks. I mean, I can get us to the front if that's where we want to be.
19 over here.
Cool. Did anyone here beat? Just raise your hand if you beat a 15. 19. Cool. Okay, awesome. Demora, Trinity. Did anyone beat a 20 or no?
I did.
Okay, Demora, very cool. So those that beat a 15, you guys can see how sort of crazy the place looks. You guys would notice that Trinity and Hatch, you immediately clock that within the marketplace, there are like some very dangerous things. And you can kind of tell that by looking at this fire genasi who's like swearing people into the market, there are some beings here that would normally be very dangerous and scary. There's like a stable that has a full nightmare at it, which is like an underworld horse. It's like a flying horse with like fiery hooves that like snorts smoke and fire. Those things are very, very dangerous. And the fact that it's here means there's some intense magic going on. Demora, with that 20 you beat, you look out into the boughs of the trees and see some people out in the trees, like exchanging goods and doing deals together. And you get the impression that there might even be some places that are here at the market outside of the market that are maybe engaged in some deals and trades that are a little bit illegal. So Barnaby, you've made this proposition.
Hey, and so basically I'm going to start kind of like scooting up the line, and I'm going to target individuals that look like they're standing with other individuals. And then I'm going to go up and kind of, I'm going to use mask of many faces to disguise self into these people. And so one of them starts, and I just start talking like this, and basically, this line has been way too long, and I tell you, Benoit, this is going to be just a major problem. And then I keep scooting up just a little, like when I'm found out, I'm just changing into something else, and then I go, and there's this like ridiculous half orc, and I say that this is too long of a line. Thou hast many problems. This is completely unacceptable. I shall have satisfaction. And then I keep moving forward, and then I change into someone else, and this time it's a little girl. It's like, Daddy, I don't want to wait in this line. We've been here for like hours. And I'm just going to keep trying to change into a different persona and move up the line as much as I can without getting killed or caught.
Go, Trinity.
So Trinity's gonna walk up to the line and be like, "Do you realize he's cutting you?"
Well, here's the thing, Adam. I'm gonna go ahead and ask Barnaby for a deception roll, and I'm afraid I'm gonna because of Trinity's brutal honesty, I am gonna have to ask for that with disadvantage.
All right, here we go. Let's see how it goes. Thanks a lot, Trinity. In your face. So the lowest I rolled was 12, so it's still a 19.
Still a 19. That's not bad. I'm going to go ahead and roll for the insight of our friend at the front of the line. She's got now she does have a +8 to insight. She's very, very insightful. So she's only got to roll a 12 or higher.
I like them odds.
On a natural 17, she you're to the front of the line. What disguise are you in at the very end there? Are you disguised as like the little girl at that point?
Little girl at this point.
She steps forward and says, "Child, you seem upset at the long wait to enter the midday market."
We've been here for hours. I just want to go get a lollipop.
Ah, a lollipop. Is that true? She kneels down and says, "Well, you'll get much more than you bargained for." Puts a like metallic hand on your shoulder. And
well, if she does that,
yeah.
She hits a shoulder far before it actually hits the little girl's shoulder.
She touches. She's going to cast Dispel Magic, and she's looking at Barnaby. You see that she goes, "Aha! You are Barnaby of the Slumbering Forest, servant of the
You got me. You got me."
You see that she snaps. She stands up and says, "I am Phoenicia, seneschal of the midday market. Are any of those here?"
Sena what?
Seneschal.
I don't know what that word means.
It means I keep the order and laws of this place and punish those who would work against the decrees of Her Majesty, the Queen of Midday.
So if we go find some lawbreakers, then like it would be perfect to bring them to you, right?
I do not imagine we will have to travel very far afield to find lawbreakers.
I'm sure there's a really dastardly crowd back here. You're probably right.
She stands up and addresses the line and says, "Are any here companions of this ne'er-do-well?" Michael, Talisman, all raise their hands. Does Trinity raise her hand?
I've never felt so validated.
Trinity doesn't raise her hand. So here's what happens.
She's with me too. that Wood Elf Ranger back there, she's with me too.
Incredible. So Phoenicia says, "Very well. You shall be escorted to the Queen of Midday at once." Some guards come out and flank her. Barnaby, it didn't go exactly to plan, but you did get your wish. You guys did get to skip the line.
Things have a way of working out with me. I mean, what can I say?
Way or another, yes.
So you guys are assembled in a group. There are some guardians that are brought in here. This is very different from the tournament grounds of the Queen of Dawn, however. These guards, you notice, are not armored. They're very lightly dressed. Their weapons are all like, rapiers and scimitars and things like that. But you see a bunch of like Eladrin and different kind of fey entities, some Griggs and Nixies and things like that, all scoot up one by one. And as they do so, you guys arrive at the top of the hill. Again, bright beating sun, sound of music playing and friendly banter. And you arrive at this giant sort of counter of like coin being exchanged. You see there's just behind the counter here in the sort of vast gold and red tent, you see there are massive piles of treasure chests and gold and things like that behind the Queen. The Queen of Midday turns to all of you, leaves from doing business here at her kind of like vendor's tent, steps forward, puts two ring-encrusted hands on the counter and goes, "Oh my word, Phoenicia, thank you so much for bringing our delightful friends here to us. Greetings, hail and well met, and welcome to the Midday Market. I am the Queen of Midday. Pleasure to make your acquaintance." Michael, you have your hand up.
While they're walking there, Michael is planning out what he's going to do. Is there anything we know about her, like her interests, like her likes and dislikes?
Give me an Arcana check. We'll say DC 10, you know a little. DC 15, you know a lot. DC 20, you know everything.
20, but not natural.
Hey, very cool. So what you know about the four sisters, right? The Midnight Queen is very like brilliant and sinister and full of secrets. The Queen of Dawn is extremely brash and reckless and ready for battle. The Queen of Midday is actually extremely cordial and friendly, very kind, polite, always there with a smile, but is incredibly, incredibly powerful and tends to always get her way. She is like she's always there with a smile, never has an unkind word to say, but can be very ruthless in her own way. So those are the things you know about the Queen of Midday. She looks out, you see Phoenicia says, "Your Majesty, Queen of Midday, this fawn was found at the front of the
thanks.
line attempting to cut, and I believe him to be a servant of your sister, the Queen of Midnight, the most opposed
Kind of
to
used
this."
to be. I mean, like, we're kind of on bad terms right now. Like,
See that the Queen of Midday kind of perches her chin in her hand and says, "You and my sister are no longer on good terms."
I mean, listen, she done me wrong, and I'm looking for a new patron. I mean, that could be you, if you want it to be. I mean, I'm looking for somebody to continue my magical enterprises, and I think that that lucky gal could be you.
What a lucky gal I could be, Barnaby.
That's what I said, yeah.
Well, after all, this is a marketplace and everything does have its price. I assume that to enter into a relationship with me to be your patron, you would require invocations, a full suite of spell casting, some amount of cantrips, access to a host of magical abilities. Do I misunderstand, or is this what you seek?
Not at all. I also would like to put on the table maybe like a monthly stipend, some kind of expense program where we can make sure that the funnel cakes. I mean, I just need something delivered from, we can just go back to the Dawn thing. It wouldn't cost you a penny at that point, but I need them delivered to wherever I'm going to live. And speaking of that, I probably need some kind of housing here, that it'll be my base of operations.
Oh, so the cost of this bargain on my part is a mere food, housing, monthly stipend of some undetermined amount, and access to a suite of abilities that surpass that of mere mortal men. Well,
yeah, it doesn't sound like much at all.
Not much at all. And for this cost, what is it that I am receiving in return?
Well, we're going to sort out this prophecy thing, and the Slumbered Forest is going to be completely saved. And as the leader of this group, it's primarily my leadership that's going to make that happen, and so it's very valuable asset that I have here.
The Queen of Midday smiles and turns to everybody else and says, "Am I to understand that this fawn is your leader?"
And Trinity's like, "No, he isn't. Not at all."
I mean, she would
Michael
say that
laughs.
she's the champion of the Midnight Queen. I mean, obviously, we've already established that she doesn't like me.
Yes, Demora.
Demora's like, nuh-uh, no.
She smiles. She looks at you, Michael.
Michael just laughs and says no.
You see, she looks at you, Barnaby, and says, "My dear Barnaby, it would seem that your companions disagree with your claim that you are the leader of this group. As such, a portion of the bill of goods presented to me has been proven false. Therefore, I have no reason to assume that anything you've said is true, and I'm afraid we can't bargain in good faith." Yes, Hatch.
I've never felt so invalidated.
When she says that, I say, well, he means he's the representative of the Slumbering Forest. So he's been our guide here, it might be lost in translation what you mean by leader. And then in Sylvan, I say to her, he's a rapscallion, but a delightful fellow, really.
And then in Sylvan, I say, I prefer ragamuffin.
She smiles. Trinity, did you want to say something to her as well?
Trinity's like, yeah, he's really not a leader, but I guess he helps with something. I can't really think of it though.
So, such a glowing review. Everyone's a critic.
The Queen of Midday smiles and says, my dear Ranger, what is your name?
My name's Trinity.
She says, and you are the champion of my sister, the Queen of Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she says, I pride myself on my ability to, at times when necessary, never lie, but speak around the truth. Your directness and acerbic regard for honesty is honestly refreshing. You remind me very much of my sister, the Queen of Midnight. I can see why she chose you. She looks over and says, and Barnaby, do not feel too maligned by your companions. At the heart of your...
I don't even know what that means, so I'm not going to feel that way.
You see, she smiles and says, at the heart of your bargain, there is a central conceit that it is in my best interest to prevent the prophecy from taking place. But you must understand that the prophecy that was put forward by my sister, the Queen of Dusk, was merely that if the Prince Lionel did not return by his 18th birthday to save his family from the Slumbering Forest, that all the realms of Lyra would fall under the Slumbering Forest. If that were to happen, our fairy magic would creep across the world, all the realms would fall into slumber, and Lyra would simply merge with the Feywild. Sounds like a lot more business for me to do. It's not necessarily something I'm looking to avoid. After all, is eternal slumber really that bad if you can be assured that your dreams would be ones of sugar plums and fey meadows and all things wonderful beneath the sun?
And funnel cakes.
She looks at you and says, heroes, you've come quite a long way, and I assume you're doing so because you have been asked to do so in the manner of heroes from all times gone by. Have you considered that maybe saving Lyra from falling into slumber is not worth your time? After all, what have you been offered by the people of Lyra to accomplish this quest? Do you stand to gain anything? And you guys see the glittering hoard of riches behind her.
I don't stand to gain anything, but it is my duty. It's a duty to the people of Lyra.
She smiles and says, yes, duty. I see by the amulet you wear that you are my other sister's champion, the Queen of Dawn. She has a much more refined sense of duty as well. She gestures to the wide marketplace and says, my servants don't work for me out of a sense of obligation or nobility. They work for me because it's in their interest to work for me, and they're paid handsomely for doing so. She sort of smiles and looks at the rest of you and says, so you have come here to solve the prophecy. You understand that? Yeah, Hatch.
I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll just.
Oh no, go for it. Yeah.
When she says, "Have we considered that this is all bad?" I just say, "Excuse me, your queenishness." And I motion out, and I'm like, "You see, when people come here to shop, they come to shop, and then they leave, and they farm, and they build, and they cook, and then they come back. If the whole world's sleeping, nothing will get done. And then there won't be any stuff to sell and no one to buy it. That sounds like a bummer.
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check from Hatch.
That's a big old 7.
May I somehow help him with that?
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check yourself. Just if you beat a 10, I'll let Hash roll with advantage here.
Got a 13.
13. Hash, give me that roll one more time.
Come on, digital dice, don't let me down. Now that's a big old 17. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
You see that she smiles at you, Hatch, and says, It is true, not everybody here at the Midday Market is immortal, but I suppose that enough are mortals that it would be somewhat sad if they were all instead trapped in eternal slumber. You see, she says, so I assume that your plan, because I see that you have collected championships from the Queen of Midnight and the Queen of Dawn. I assume the plan is for you to get one more from me in case you need to confront my sister, but then to head to the dread castle of Dinamore and attempt to awaken King Leonor and Queen Lorabelle yourselves in defiance of the Queen of Dusk's prophecy?
I very non-subtly cough and push Michael forward. Like, sorry, it's my allergies.
You see that she sort of smiles and looks and says, and what is your name, my friend?
Michael the Frog.
Michael the Frog, it's a pleasure to meet you. Well, Michael, whence did your journey into heroism begin, and what has brought you here to the Court of Midday?
When I got turned into a frog, and then the council thing, and then the forest. Oh, there was these tree things, and then Barnaby almost killed us because of the Midnight Queen.
Why
But
do
then
I
Trinity
always
saved
get
us.
blamed for everything?
Well, I'm not blaming you. I'm just stating facts.
I remember that
then,
differently is all I'm saying.
And then Trinity saved us. And then we went to Dawn. And then everyone had an epic battle. And there was this creepy guy. Oh, and he said he was going to kill someone here. By the way, just thought you'd like to know that. With like thorn hounds.
She looks over. Anyone who wants to give me an insight check as Michael says this. And let me know if anyone here beats a 20.
I got a 20.
Got a 20. And Demora, you got something as well?
Yes, 23.
Incredible. Barnaby and Demora, you guys notice a quick flash between the Queen of Midday and her seneschal, Phoenicia, as you mentioned Thornhounds. It looked from the look on their face, it looks like they're not it's not a conspiratorial look. It's a look like you saying that has like confirmed a fear of theirs. So you see them kind of look at each other, have this quick look of like fear as Michael mentions Thornhounds, and the Queen looks and says, well, all very interesting. I would say that you have your work cut out for you. Your quest is a difficult one. You are facing the might of prophecy, and without Prince Lionel, that prophecy does not stand to be solved by you. I suppose you could confront the Queen of Dusk to have her change the prophecy, which is perhaps what you're planning on doing with these favors. But the question remains, you still require my blessing to be able to summon her. Is that not
Hey,
true?
hey, listen though, you're like really connected, right? So if this the real Lionel was out there, you would know it, right? And so you might be willing to give us that information for the right price, correct?
For the right price, anything is possible, Barnes.
So you're saying that you do know where the real Lionel is?
I don't give away information for free, including information about what information I could theoretically
I mean,
give
you
away.
got to give a little bit of a preview. People don't click the buy button without some kind of description.
You see, she looks around. Yes, Trinity.
I was just wondering, do we still have Frederick with us?
You do still have Frederick with you.
Oh, okay.
You do. The Queen of Midday looks and says, Michael, you saw these thorn hounds, correct? She looks at you and says, there is a chance for all of you that there is a possibility at the Dread Castle of Dinamore you will discover the tablets of the prophecy. You will find some way to awaken Leonore and Lorabelle without the aid of Prince Lionel. And the question remains that it is very risky for me to give you a blessing. My sister, the Queen of Midnight, gave you one, and so did my sister, the Queen of Dawn. Yes, Ren.
Ren's been taking notes about the treants and everything that's going on, and she finally looks up from her book and says, Your Highnessness, an awake king and queen are going to be a grateful king and queen.
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check. I'll say go ahead and make this one with advantage.
$17.
17. Awesome. She smiles and says, very well. Let me put forward a proposition to all of you. There are vast and many treasures here in the midday market. It would be a shame for you to have come all this way without seeing what goods and wares there are to buy and sell here. And perhaps there will be something more for you here than you can imagine. All the splendors under the sun are available in my midday market. I will consider putting a price on my blessing. In exchange for that consideration of putting a price to it, I would ask for the use of your wizard Michael to come with myself and my seneschal to examine something at the forest's edge. If Michael can agree to that, I will consider offering my blessing. However, I will only offer it to one who has entered my market and bested the merchants herein. If you can barter, beg, and haggle your way to a truly wonderful treasure, I will give you my blessing. How does that sound?
Ren asks, does Michael have to go alone?
He does not have to go alone if there are those who would wish to accompany him.
It's up to you, kid. Who do you want to come with you?
Trinity, you have your hand up.
Trinity's like, I can come, I guess.
You see that the Queen of Midday smiles and says, the services of a ranger would be very welcome here. Wonderful. So the Queen of Midday says, oh yes, Hatch.
I just have one question before we depart for this.
Mhm.
I just say to her, just one quick question. We're after a tricky guy that came here looking for a stranger. You seen anybody strange, like they don't fit?
She sort of gestures out to a marketplace full of like satyrs, grigs, kenku, bugbears, centaurs, all kinds of crazy stuff. And she's like, we welcome everyone here at the midday market. So it's it says, even now I'm speaking to a transmogrified frog, so I'm not sure what strange would account for. However, it's possible that on our little expedition we will find an answer to this question of yours. Michael.
Before they leave, Michael tells everyone to make sure Barnaby has adult supervision.
I happen to be an adult. I mean, come on. I call everybody kid, regardless of how old they are.
You see, Buford the boar says, "Very good idea, Michael. I'll keep an eye on
Buford, you stay out of this. I don't know why everybody's always picking on me. I mean, if I knew how to cry, I probably would by now.
It's statements like that, Barnaby. That's why.
I mean, you know, it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing here. I mean, I don't know where. Let's just get off the merry-go-round, can we?
Trinity.
And Trinity's like, how old are you anyways?
A gentleman never tells.
The Queen of Midday and her seneschal take Michael and Trinity and head off to the forest's edge. The rest of you guys are left up at the hill and can see all the various parts of the market and all these magical trinkets and baubles and potions and weapons and all kinds of stuff like that being sold higgledy-piggledy everywhere. For the five of you who are left, Wren, Hatch, Barnaby, Demora, and Talisman, is there anything you guys are interested in looking for? Because again, in addition to like kind of wanting to prove your worth to the Queen of Midday, there also is like honestly a lot of cool stuff here in the market. Hatch.
Hatch doesn't really care about stuff, so I'm going to use thaumaturgy to make my voice boom and try and get the treant's attention in Sylvan. Be like, hey, man, hey.
This huge 30-foot tall treant kind of rotates around, bends over, huge arms everywhere. He looks down at you and goes, "Oh, hello there, friend." He says, "I know you. You are Hatch the Mystic."
Oh, yeah, hang on. You guys have a different Sylvan accent. Hang on. Oh, I say yes, I am.
Wren is scribbling, taking notes.
He smiles. You see that you as a turtle and this dude as a tree vibe so hard right out of the gate. You see you. He's like, "Yes, I speak with the trees of the slumbering forest. Our roots talk throughout the day, and they let me know that one touched by the spirits of life itself was coming here. It is well and good to speak in the rhythm of the trees once more."
Kind of like elbow Talisman at this point, and hey, I think this tree's kind of like getting in on your best friend there. Just letting you know.
It's fine. I guess you can have other friends. I like the tree. It's fine.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to say that the speed at which me and B-Dave are having this conversation, in reality, it's like a good 8 minutes to have that exchange. So, so you see that the tree says, "My full name would take the better part of a year and a day to say. But the small folk here call me Twig. What business do you have here? You are a shaman, one who is present on the spiritual plane, and I would think that the hemming and hawing and coming and going and shouting and yelling and buying and selling to and fro and back and forth would appeal not at all to one such as yourself."
It doesn't. That's why I'm talking to you. And we're here to help. We're looking for a stranger and a tricky guy that's after him.
You see, he goes, a stranger, yes. Hatch, because you're vibing so hard with this dude, go ahead and give me a persuasion with advantage.
It's true. I figured if there was anybody in this forest that I'd be able to just like kick back with.
Not a high DC on this one either, but let me know what you got.
That is an 18.
18. You see that Twig goes, you are looking for a stranger.
Stranger than us.
Do you know if this being is a stranger or just a stranger to you? Because after all, we're each a stranger to another stranger. And that would make us all much stranger indeed.
Barnaby whispers to Talisman, like again, he's like, does this dude know what penultimate means?
I tell him everything. I tell him the fires that we found that were set. I tell him I tell him about the fact that we figured out that the shaman wasn't the shaman, but he sent the thornhounds, like literally, like all of it.
I'm not gonna lie. Twig is fully going to help you, but your conversation will take the better part of 3 hours.
Yeah, no. Yeah, right. I feel like I just sort of like pull into my shell and just like nuzzle up in some branches and just like low speed vibe. Yeah, 100%.
Incredible. So as you're doing that for Ren, Demora, Barnaby, and Talisman, you see that Hash begins to speak with Twig. For the rest of you, what are you guys interested in doing while Michael and Trinity are off investigating? Demora.
I'm gonna find some food.
Incredible.
I like this plan. I'm gonna go with Demora.
Perfect. I love it. Incredible. For Ren and Talisman, what are you guys up to?
Talisman is going to go look for some sword oil.
Very, very cool. And what is Ren up to here in the midday market?
Ren wants to talk to I think you said the hag at the potion stand.
Ooh, very cool. Awesome. So you guys head off to go do that. Demora and Barnaby, you guys walk up. You see that there is a little goblin. This goblin is, first of all, is a very like fairy tale looking goblin, where it's like big chin, big long pointed ears. He's got a little like sort of like floppy like gnome hat. Like he's got one of those like sort of like conical hats. Little like curly pointed shoes. He's about a foot and a half tall, but like 2 feet wide. He's like wider than he is tall, and it's this stocky little goblin who's walking around. He has a huge fruit stand with strange subterranean like purple day glow orange like melons and gourds and stuff, and he's running around scooping things out of like giant like jet black pumpkins that have like glittering pink and lavender innards, and scooping them into little like wraps of strange black bread and handing them off.
I mean, you kind of lost me at the fruit part. Like, is there no meat or something? I mean, where's the beef?
You see that as you to the front of this, sort of this like this stand, you see the goblin looks up and says, "Well, hello there, welcome. Those of you with hungry stomachs have come to Beezy's stand of refreshments and nourishments. Please let me know what I can get you to eat. If it is meat you want, meat you can have. We have grubs and worms and various other things that crawl and scutter about."
Demora, you ever had some of these grubs? I'm telling you, it's good stuff. On a little flatbread, a little bit of sauce on it. It's good.
I don't know.
You
got to get them when they're still crawling.
It's an acquired taste. If you've never had a grub before, have you ever had a millipede? It's kind of like a millipede.
No.
I prefer centipedes, but millipedes do in a pinch.
Okay, I'm trying to think of something you definitely would have eaten. Have you ever had it's a lot like a cave salamander.
So listen here, you're dealing with the champion of the food eating contest for the underworld and the above world. All right. And so that kind of celebrity, her specialty is kind of like whole turkeys and stuff like that. So I think that this is definitely worth a complimentary meal.
Go ahead and give me a persuasion check with disadvantage as you try to talk this goblin merchant into giving you a free meal.
I'm pretty good at this. All right, let's see. Still got a 17.
17. You see that Beezy crosses his arms and goes, "You are the champion of the eating contest of the Dawn Queen?"
Yes, I am.
I prestidigitate some like fireworks around.
If it's a free meal you want, it's a free meal you can get. But would it be possible, if you're going to eat a free meal, that you would eat it here near the front of the line? And could I perhaps put a small advertisement for my shop somewhere on your armor? It's sort of like a sponsorship, you get to eat for free, and as you walk around the market, people see a famous eating contest winner, and they go, "Where does that eating contest winner like to eat?" And it says, "Oh, Beezy's, a shop of refreshments and nourishments." And
I mean, listen, you throw that hat in that's on top of your head, and we got a deal.
Oh, I have tons of hats. We can throw a hat in. That's no problem.
I mean, Demora, I don't want your armor to be all sponsored without consent. So are you sure that this is all right? I mean, I get a hat out of this too.
Is it permanent?
Well, we can discuss, ideally the advertisement on your armor would be permanent. I'm just going to throw this out here as an idea, but maybe, whenever you rush into battle, you could just say something like, "For the honor of Beezy's nourishment stand," or, "Wow, I feel so strong because of that great food I had at Beezy's."
Hey, Demora, I mean, listen, I do this kind of thing all the time. They knock off like 10 coins if you put a sign in your yard, and all you got to do is put it up there until they leave, and then you just take it right up, and they never know.
I don't want my armor covered in your stuff, but I do want a free meal.
Ah, yes, decisions. What say you, Demora? Will you take this goblin's deal and enter into the realm and pantheon of fabled sponsored heroes?
I mean, look at that hat.
I don't want to damage my armor. I'm sorry.
Everyone's got to protect their brand. And you see BC.
I understand, kid.
You see Peasy goes back. We'll cut over now to Talisman. Talisman, you go over to a sort of like sword or weapons place. There's a sword spot that at first looks like it's not being run by anybody until you get closer and see that it is being run by somebody, but that person is only 6 inches tall. You see that there is a grig that is like a little fairy. They're like centaurs, but instead of the lower half being horses, they're crickets, and their heads have little like antenna on them. But you see that this little grig has like a little vest, and he's got like a little bow and arrow and tiny swords on either side of his like belt around his waist. He is incredibly strong. He is like lifting full great swords, only being 6 inches tall, like sort of like how a flea or like a beetle moves things way bigger than it. You walk up to his stand, and he looks up and goes, "Hey there, pal, how's it going? Welcome to Antonio's Magical Sword Stand. I'm Antonio the Grig. Please, feel free to do your business. What can I help you with, my friend? You look like a guy who knows to swear around a blade."
Hello, Antonio. I'm looking for some sword oil. Would you happen to have that?
Oh, my God, baby, you want a sword oil? I got all kinds of sword oil you need. What, you want a sword oil like a Western? You want a magic sword oil? Something to make your sword not to shine any light, something to make your sword not make a noise when you draw from a scabbard. We got all kinds of sword oil, whatever you could want.
What kind of magical sword oil do you have?
Oh, brother, we got all kinds of soda. You see, he takes a little vial of what looks like jet black ink. He says, this here is a nightcrawler venom. You put this on your sword, it never reflect any light. So you're gonna do something like a ninja. You're gonna walk in somewhere nobody's gonna be able to look and see. There's no shine off of the blade. We gotta listen. If you want, you don't gotta tell the seneschal about this, but we got some poisons. If you want some poisons for the sword, but also we got some sword oil stuff here. He takes some other stuff out and says, this is a sword oil of a stickiness. He says, this is a resin from a camphor tree, home of the spirits forever. You put this on the pommel of the blade, you sharpen it with it, and you can never be disarmed. The sword will never leave your hand. He goes to another one and takes a little, it looks like seltzer. It's like carbonated. He says, this here is a sword oil. You want to buy this? He says, you leave your sword. Let's say you want to go on an adventure, right? You leave your sword, you put it under the floorboards of your house. You go to your house, you lock the door, you take some wood, you put it up there, you go 200,000 miles away, you go to another plane of existence, okay? With this sword, you snap your fingers, bada boom, that sword appears in your hand from anywhere else in the world. So no matter where you are, you got your sword in your hand when you need it. This is a good one. This is the premium sword we got in the shop.
May I see a demonstration?
Hey, this stuff's worth a lot, my friend, but he wants to see a demonstration. Okay. See, Antonio reaches into his belt, takes a dagger out, throws the dagger off into the market, snaps his hand, and in a little burst of light, the dagger appears back in his hand.
How much would that cost me?
This? Well, it depends, you know. I'm here to maybe work out a deal with you if you want. Going price for this is either 1 true love's first kiss, 2 memories from your childhood, or we could do. You don't have to give up your firstborn, but we'll take I could do a secondborn, maybe even a thirdborn, depending. But whatever you want to do, or if you have other artifacts and magical items you want to change or you give or exchange, then we can do that as well.
I have money. Do you want money?
Oh, money, sure. Yeah, we could just do money. This will be about 200 gold pieces.
200. I am afraid I am poor. I could do that for about 20.
20? You want? Hey, 10%. Oh, that's quite a discount, my friend. I tell you what. He goes, listen, I noticed around your neck you're the champion of the Dawn Queen, so maybe we work out some kind of deal like this. Very simple. All I ask for you is one favor. You owe me a favor, and you get the sword oil. How does that sound, my friend?
It would depend on the favor. I don't sell my soul.
No, of course not. Hey, no one's talking. Who's talking about a soul? Nobody. But I would part with it for a favor. It says, but if you want to name what that boon would be, you completely can. But I'm not gonna part with this thing for a song. Actually, I would part with it for a song, but a literal song.
Hello, I am Talisman. I am the champion of the Dawn Queen.
As you start singing, he takes a little bottle, bottles it up, and the song literally leaves your lips and scoots into the bottle. He takes it. You feel that having sung that song, you haven't lost your ability to sing, but you can actually never sing that song again. He puts it in the bottle and says, "We got a deal, my guy," and tosses the sword oil to you.
Thank you. That was maybe worth it.
He goes, "Whew, I'm a rich man, let me tell you." All right.
You are.
He throws that away. Ren, we're going to go to you now.
Okay.
You go and find that the night hag there.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of ancient crone, again, like little sort of barnacles on her thing, sort of wet hair hanging. You walk up, she's in these like dark, thick robes wrapped with chains, has all these potions around. She looks up at you and says, hello there, dearie. Welcome to my potion shop. do I see now a fellow witch of the wood? I can tell you are a woman of magical ways.
Ren nods and smiles. She's not at all intimidated or afraid of her. She sees hags in the slumbering forest all the time. So, and she says, "Hi, I'm here to maybe buy some healing potions for my friends."
A healing potion for your friends? Well, healing potions we do have, my good dearie. A small potion for 50 pieces of gold we can part with, but if that is beyond your reach, then we can negotiate other prices indeed.
Well, what are you looking for?
She says, memories, secrets and spells, songs of the heart, wishes and longings, dreams themselves, all manner of things can be bartered and bargained for here at the midday market, dearie, as well you know.
Ren says, how about some stars? And she reaches into her pouch and she pulls out her focus, her casting focus, a crystal, and she holds it up in front of the hag and she says, but I think that might be worth more than one healing potion.
She nods. Go ahead and give me a persuasion check with advantage. $19. You see, she looks at the spellcasting focus, and she takes it and says, "For this, I would happily part with." You see that she takes a bandolier of 6 healing potions. Says, "Quite a gift, my dearie. I shall part with."
Ren says, "So are my friends."
You see that her heart melts a little bit as you say that. She looks at you and says, knowing that giving up your arcane focus is giving up some of your ability to spell cast, she looks at you and says, hands the potions to you and says, "My time in the slumbering forest has made me a disbeliever in the kindness of people. And to be so disproven warms the cold recesses of my hag's heart. You care for your friends, and you have, if I am not much mistaken, come here on a deadly quest." You see she looks to her left and right and says, "There is a peddler here in the marketplace, a beggar whose pots and pans clink about them, by the name of Frimless. They are a peddler of lost things, and I think there is something lost here that you and your friends dearly seek if you are to survive. Go with good fortune, Wren of the Two Woods."
Thank you. I didn't catch your name.
You see, she looks up at you and says, she says, "I am Bethalba." She says, "Us sister witches must stick together in these trying times." And you see that she puts a crony old arm and sort of squeezes your arm reassuringly, but with those sharp claws. And she says, "Lost things may indeed be found again." And she smiles, and you walk off into the midday market. Trinity and Michael, you guys head off to the edge of the marketplace. You guys leave the market, and you get to this clearing. Some of the people that are doing like shady deals outside of the market kind of like flee as the seneschal and the queen approach. You guys arrive in a clearing, and you see that there are a lot of brambles and briars that have grown up around the clearing. The Queen of Midday turns to you, Michael and Trinity, and says, "A stranger did indeed come to the midday market and made their camp here for business they were seeking in the marketplace. we have not been able to discern the nature of this stranger. They were meant to come back to speak with me at my throne, but something took them away from this place. Trinity and Michael, you guys are looking around. Let me know if you want to investigate or any skills that you want to use while you're here. You can use Arcana, you can use Nature, you can use Survival. You can also use Investigation or Perception. Awesome. And what skill is Trinity rolling right now?
Wait, which ones were there again?
You can do whichever ones you want. If you will, if you want to look around for tracks, you can do a survival check. If you want to look for magic stuff, you can do like Arcana or Nature. Yes, Trinity.
I want to see if there's any people looking around the area we are.
So give me a perception check.
Okay.
And I'll check for magic around with an
Cool.
Arcana check.
So you give me an Arcana check.
17.
On a 17 perception, you see that there is a bullywug in a cloak. So a very tall, like a 6 foot tall frog person with a thick blue cloak is standing off by the edge of the forest and has those big frog eyes that are like looking in opposite directions. But one of the eyes is peering at you. So you just notice that one person kind of observing you. Michael, what did you get for your Arcana check?
22.
22. Michael, you know that these briars are brand new and magically created. A fight happened here between thorn hounds and something else. But what you do notice is that you don't think anybody died here. If you were guessing, the thorn hounds came and captured someone here and took them away. But you find stuff on the ground. It looks like someone was fighting the thornhounds with a sword here, and with a 22 Arcana, you find broken magical thorns on the ground from the thornhounds that attacked here. So you have a piece of them to be able to magically like scry on them or track them down. Trinity.
So Trinity's gonna whisper to Michael, "Hey, I think that's another frog over there."
Michael is very offended that someone is coming for him. It's his brand, not him. Oh, also he'll tell everyone about the Thornhound and stuff. He'll tell everyone what he saw.
Michael, as you look over, you see that the frog is gone. And Trinity, when you look over, the frog is gone as well. The other frog, the bullywug. Trinity, go ahead and give me a survival check.
Okay.
I'll tell the midday queen and then the person and Trinity about what I found.
Awesome.
15.
15. Awesome. Cool. 15. So Trinity, looking around, you notice that there is a campfire in this clearing. And as you look at the campfire, it seems very similar to the campfires you found at the edge of the slumbering forest, almost like it was built by the same person. With that, the Queen of Midday looks over and speaks and says, "Thornhounds coming here and abducting someone within sight of the midday market." The Seneschal looks and says, "This is very bad. Something wicked is afoot." The Midday Queen looks at it and says, "Michael, thank you for your help in discovering what had occurred here. It is deeply and dearly appreciated." Trinity, yes.
And Trinity's gonna tell the Midday Queen about the frog that she saw.
Says, "A frog?" She says, she sort of furrows her brow and says, well, let's see if we can find where he went. You guys walk back over to where the frog was, sort of leaving the clearing behind. Trinity, give me another survival check. And Michael, go ahead and give me another Arcana check, if you'd be so kind.
I got a 21.
21 survival. Awesome. Michael, let me know what you got.
Natural 20.
Natural 20! You guys walk over. The Queen of Midday looks down. So far, the Queen of Midday is like a little bit impressed with you guys thus far, but you see that Trinity, you look down, you don't see frog footprints. You see small boot prints. Michael, on a natural 20, you can tell not only that there is magic left in the air, it is a powerful teleport spell. Normally, you would have to use spell casting to describe that, but on a natural 20, you can tell that a door into the Feywild was opened, and the other side of that door leads to the dread castle of Dinamore. Someone just teleported to Dinamore from the Midday Court. Trinity.
Trinity's gonna be like, hey, something's fishy about that frog. He didn't leave frog prints.
You see that the Seneschal looks over, and you see that the Midday Queen looks down and says, I can see no tracks here in the grass. And you can tell that she's just not a trained ranger. So like you have seen something that would be like almost impossible to see for anyone else. Michael.
Michael's like, ugh, fake frogs these days.
Michael and Trinity, as you guys compare notes, like Trinity, you know that these are the exact same boot prints that you saw near the cauldron in the court of the Dawn Queen. Michael, this spell even feels similar to the teleportation spell that you saw earlier from Alaklasmi. Trinity.
Then Trinity's gonna be like, hey, so we saw these footprints before, right? The same ones.
The ones where Alakazmi left with the Thornhounds. So it's the same guy.
Yeah, I think it's someone in disguise.
Is it disguise? Can I see if it's a spell I know? Because I have the spell Disguise Self. So I'd want to know if it's that or if it's something different.
You think it might be Disguise Self. It seems like something your spell would be able to do, which is very interesting because Alaklasmi, which it raises the question, like, was Alaklasmi also a disguise if this frog thing was a disguise? Yes, Trinity.
I also think it's Disguise Self because Alaklasmi, he was talking different than when he was talking before.
That's true as well. So it's possible that Alaklasmi and this frog thing were both themselves disguises. You guys have cracked this case wide open. She, the Queen of Midday, says, very, very clever indeed. She says, well, this is quite troubling if someone is teleporting in and out of my realm and summoning Thornhounds here. Let's return to my throne at once. Oh, yeah, Michael.
While they're walking back, Michael says, like, he tells them that he was going to the castle. So he's like, another reason why we should go to the castle and you should give us our blessing is so this guy doesn't, I don't know, bad.
Awesome. Go ahead and give me, I'm going to say go ahead and give me persuasion with advantage.
Six.
Oh no! You see that the Queen of Midday looks at you and says, I see your motives here, Michael. I understand what it is that you desire. All of this will be dealt with in due time. starts heading back up to the top of the hill. Trinity and Michael, you guys start heading back up. For everybody else, you guys can see, I mean, the Queen of Midday is a very imposing figure. She alights back up to sort of where she's going. You see that she says, myself and my seneschal have some business to attend to. She's talking to Trinity and Michael. She says, go and collect your companions and meet me back up at my throne a few minutes hence. And she says, I have some business to attend to. For everybody else here, you can tell that like the Queen of Midday is going to summon you very shortly. So any business you want to attend to, you should wrap up quickly.
Basically, at some point, like during all of that, Barnaby is going to relent and pay for food for both himself and Demora. And when we're sitting down to eat, Barnaby is just going to kind of, lean in a little conspiratorially and just simply say, listen, I got to hand it to you, kid. I'm really proud that you wouldn't sell yourself out like that. I mean, I just sometimes get distracted by shiny things like hats like that. I mean, it's a killer hat. And so I am really, really proud of you that you didn't sell yourself out. You kind of make me want to be a little bit better. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to succeed, but you kind of make me want to at least try just a little bit. So really, really well done. It's been nice getting to know you, kid.
Thank you.
And then before we leave, Barnaby, on the way out, is going to either off the top of the goblin's head or in the stack, if he's identified that throughout eating the meal, is going to try to mage hand one of the hats to bring out with him when he departs the restaurant.
Mage hand is no sweat. He's got a little stack of merch hats in the back. Go ahead and give me a deception roll.
I was hoping you would say that. That is a 25.
Ooh, baby. You yoink one of those hats, no problem. You see that it's a really actually well-made, lovely hat. It does have a big logo on one side of it saying Beezy's Hut of Nourishment and Refreshment. But, a little bit of illusion magic could clear that right up if you're not a fan of the patch.
I said I was proud of her for not selling out, not myself.
Incredible. So Demore, you got your sweet new hat. BZ has no idea that you clocked it from him. You're feeling well fed with this good carnival food. And you guys both head back up to the throne as well. Michael.
Is there anywhere Michael can get clean water for his barrel? Like, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead and give me a perception check.
Okay.
And does anyone have Ren? Yeah, I was going to ask. Does anyone have create water as a cantrip or no?
No, I don't think I have that.
Oh, no worries. Ren, yes.
I wanted to, while Hatch was finishing up his conversation, take an hour to summon another spellcasting focus.
Great, perfect. That's awesome. Wonderful. Michael, yes.
I got 12.
12. Okay. I'm gonna say that you find some like trough water. You can like freshen it up a little bit without too much sweat. I will also say on a 12, you spot Ren and are both together as Ren is finishing up her
ceremony.
Her ceremony, but then the spellcasting focus. So Barnaby, Demora head back to the top. Talisman, are you heading back to the throne as well?
Yes, I am.
Cool, you're at the top. Hatch is already up there finishing up his conversation with Twig.
I do have something I want to say to him before we talk to the queen.
Go for it. Yes.
Having been there talking, I'm like, still in Sylvan. Everyone's in such a dreadful hurry, just higgledy-piggledy hither and yon. Tell me, old boy, is there anything that the trees of the slumbering forest wish us to know? No one ever stops to talk to the trees, you know.
You see that he says, well, one thing the trees have come to know and be surprised by is how frequently mortals have entered the wood of late. A band of them, matching your description, have been spoken of as respectful and kind. And before them, there was one more, who, even though he made fire in the forest, always said a prayer of respect to the trees that had fallen to give him their wood. Very respectfully. He traveled for some time through the trees, but managed to make his way onto the paths of the forest somehow. I'm going to go over Trinity. Are you going back up to the throne as well?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. You are there. Ren and Michael are the last two that have not yet gone up to the throne. Each of you go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Oh, natural one.
Oh no.
It'd be 6. But...
Well, I got 23.
Whoa. Ren, you're kind of like you had this very meaningful interaction with this witch. You have these potions now. Michael, you're kind of still on the lookout for more fresh water because the water you have is like trough water for like letting like horses and steeds drink.
I'm walking like
yeah, you're walking all these potions. Michael, you're looking around for water. You notice that seated, you know those like signposts that like amusement parks have that are like a signpost for other places in the kind of market. Seated at the foot of one with a huge towering backpack of knickknacks and pots and pans is a kind of like, they look like a Norse troll. They look very sweet and old with a big long nose and little blue runes. Their skin looks like it's made of wood and bark. Is this old sort of magical peddler. And you see that they're also covered with like socks and keys and a lot of other various knickknacks and things. But Michael, you notice this person and they look very strange to you. I'll say with a 23 perception, you notice that in a little sack of theirs poking out is one of your socks from back when you wore socks. And you see they're just sort of sitting there, like sort of hawking their wares to people as they walk by, looking around. But you just notice that person as you're passing by. Do you point that person out to Ren?
My sock.
As soon as Michael sort of gets curious, says, "My sock!" Ren, you look and see this person matching the description of what Bethalba spoke to you about.
Mm-hmm. I tell Michael, we stop walking and I tell Michael what she said. And I hand him a potion while we're talking.
Oh, thanks.
You both look at this peddler that you see. Ren explains that Bethalba was talking about like the importance of something lost here. So you see the peddler looks up at you and sort of smiles and says,
"Oh, hello there, friends. My name is Frimlish, a peddler of lost things. In my bag I have as many of the lost things in the world as my magic has let me find."
Michael's muted right now.
My sock.
You
I have my sock back.
You see that Frimlish looks up and says,
"I would be happy to trade with you. The sock was not stolen. I am a merchant of lost things, and when things are lost, they become mine. But if you would like it to become unlost, I would be happy to trade for you. But I'm afraid that I'm only interested in things that are themselves lost. Is there anything you have that you've lost?"
No, and I think Ren has something that she needs to look for.
Yeah, Ren, you're thinking because Bethelba didn't explain like what you needed to ask for, but you see Frimless kind of smiles up at you, and says,
Ah, well, like many witches, you are seeking something lost. Is there something lost that you know is lost that you are looking for? Or is there something so lost that you do not even know that it is lost that you are looking for?
Ren says, well, we are looking for a lost prince.
Oh, a lost prince.
it takes a prince out of the bag. You see Frimless smiles, and you suddenly get the sensation that this is not just a beggar, even though there are holes in their shoes and tatters in their clothes. This person seems like a powerful magic caster. Frimless goes,
Oh, the prince was lost for some time, but very recently, I think you know the prince was found.
You see that Frimless looks and says,
There are many things here which were lost, though.
And begins to pull out keys, socks, coin purses, things like that, and then pulls out a bunch of like letters and correspondences. Feel free to make an insight check for me, the two of you. 16, awesome.
And 10.
10. You see that within the letters, very briefly, Ren, you see in that stack of letters that Frimless is kind of moving through, there is a letter addressed in beautiful, flowing purple script to the Queen of Dusk. You see it for just a moment, and it looks old, maybe about 18 years old.
Ren points to it and says, we're interested in that letter you have.
You see that it says,
Oh, of the things that are lost, this is the most important lost thing that I have. I would be happy to barter for it, but I will need something lost of yours as well.
Is there a way I could give him my human self since I'm not a human anymore? I'm a frog. I'm not a human, so I lost my human.
Oh my goodness. You see, and by the way, Trinity, I saw you raise your hand, so if you have something you want to ask, go for it.
It's just oh, never mind, actually.
Okay, we're gonna settle this up real quick. Michael, what an incredible, so Michael, you have a little bit of illusion magic.
Like, could I give him like my chance to be human again, since Michael doesn't want to be human again? So like I could give
Michael,
him...
you see Frimless goes, and a little bit of tears form in the corner of Frimless's eyes, and he says, chances hurt the most when they are lost. That, my good friend, is a bargain worth striking. And Frimless hands the letter to you, and Michael, a little bit of your illusion magic comes spiraling like smoke out of your hand. And Ren, for the first time, you see a rather handsome human man with a wizard's hat. Michael, like floats out on the breeze, and you see that Frimless takes a piece of parchment, and there is an image that only you and Michael will have seen of a form that Michael the Frog will never get back again. And Frimless takes it, you walk away, And Michael, you are holding the invitation written by Queen Lorabelle of Caverly to the Dusk Queen in your hand. Woo! You guys rush back up out of there. Frimless smiles, and as you rush away, you see that in like a swirl of dust, Frimless is gone, like a supremely powerful, magical beggar. You guys arrive at the throne of the Midday Queen. The Midday Queen looks out at those of you assembled here. Michael, you have those magic thorns in your hand. You have the letter. The Midday Queen looks at you and says, well, heroes of the slumbering forest, I owe you my thanks to Trinity of the woodland folk and to Michael the frog. I thank you for your help, and in exchange, I will consider this. Tell me what bargains you have struck here, and if one of them is truly the greatest bargain struck of this day, then I will offer you my blessing. Michael, she looks at you.
I gave away my chance to become human again.
You see that she looks at you and says, well, that's a very high price you paid, but unless I know what you paid it for, I won't know if it's a good deal or not.
The invitation letter to the Dusk Queen for the party that she never got invited to, which is this whole backstory.
You see, no roll needed. Huge gasp. The Queen of Midday's jaw drops. She looks at you and goes, now, that is a very cunning frog. Unlike
Amphibian solidarity.
Oh, fury like a woman scorned, I'm telling you.
Unlike the sort of pumping heroic forearm clutch of the Dawn Queen or the kiss of the Midnight Queen, you see that the Midday Queen, like the good businesswoman she is, extends a hand for a very formal handshake. She shakes your hand, Michael, and you can feel the noonday warmth flood into your body. You see that she looks out at all the assembled people there and says, a true bargainer, a clever wizard indeed, and let a wizard's cunning never go in short supply. I name Michael the Frog of the Slumbering Forest my champion. And you see that she gives you her blessing in this handshake, smiles. You see that she snaps her finger and says, and she says, and much like Talisman's amulet and Trinity's cloak, she says, and let us not let my champion go out into the world without some ability to barter of his own. A big old overflowing chest of treasure is thrown into the back of Buford's wagon, and fresh, clean water is poured into your barrel. She hands you a beautiful crystal decanter attuned to the elemental plane of water. This is a decanter of endless water. No matter where you are, if you're stranded in the desert, when you open it up, unending water pours out of it. And she says, wheresoever you go, let you find safety and comfort there, my champion. She smiles. You can tell that even though she's a very formal business lady, she truly likes you. There is nothing this woman likes more than people that are cunning, clever, and crafty. And that is Michael the Frog, baby. So Queen of Midday says, oh yes, Hatch.
When this happens, Hatch casts multiple thaumaturgies to make the flames of all the candles leap into the air, doors fly open, thunder to rumble, and my voice to boom. All hail the great wizard Michael, champion of the Dawn Court.
Woo! You guys see that people cheer, holler, hooray, hoot. The market goes wild. You see that the Queen of Midday says, well, you have that invitation, which is very important indeed. And we know that whoever this stranger was has disappeared, and that strange bullywug that Trinity cited has disappeared to the Dread Castle of Dinamore. There is a path directly from here to there that will get you there as quickly as the Fey spirits can carry you. She says, you see that Phoenicia shows up in like a terror. She goes, my lady, the paths have disappeared. Sir Alamanth cannot be reached. Something has gone wrong in a slumbering forest. Hatch, we're going to cut back to you for a second. You see that Twig is finishing up his conversation with you. With that great persuasion check you got earlier, Twig says, I have many favors owed to me by the trees of this place. If you have some clue of what you are following, the trees and plants of the slumbering forest will help you follow them.
Wait right there, Old Bean. Anybody have any clues that we can use to follow?
I have the thorns from the Thornhounds.
Michael holds.
Yeah, I think that'd do it.
You see that Twig goes down, touches a branch, looks at you, Hatch, and says, "For my good friend Hatch, let the plants of the slumbering forest guide your path." Touches a branchy hand to the thorns in Michael's hands. Michael, these thorns start to glow, and as they glow, Trinity, you can see the tracks of the thornhounds that nobody else could see, glowing with that glow from the thorns in Michael's hands. All of you guys, unless you have any other business in the midday market, you guys see the path leading out of here to follow the thornhounds. Hatch, that is you.
I look at him and I'm still in Sylvan, like, say, old boy, once all this kerfluffle's put to rest, I'll come back and we'll have a nice chat for a week or two, eh?
He says, a chat with a friend is a treasure worth more than gold. I look forward to it, friend.
You see, with all the kind of celebration and excitement, exuberance going on around, Barnaby's a little quieter than normal. And he, as we start to go, like whenever that time comes, he's kind of snapping his fingers, a little bit. And he's used to a flame coming between his fingertips. And it's like it's not working the first few times that he's doing it. And then it finally works, and he's like, I guess I got a little juice left. I might have made a terrible mistake. And then he just kind of puts his head down and keeps walking.
I think Ren and Hatch, you guys both notice that Barnaby is like beginning to have the effects of that bargain with the Midnight Queen, and you can feel your magic beginning to leave a little bit. Michael, yes.
While they're walking out, Michael murmurs to himself, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 4.
You guys begin to depart. As you do, Buford's got Michael with this new giant thing of gold and fresh water in his barrel, feeling good. You see, Frederick looks up and says, I lost all my money in a game of 3-card shuffle, so if anyone else...
you're still here?
Yes, I'm still a part of this. Please, I'm trying my best. I thought maybe I would get...
They didn't have water back there that you could fish or something? You want to stay back there, or...?
No. Demora.
I noticed Barnaby being a little upset, and I ask him if everything's okay.
everything will be okay, kid. I mean, you know, life happens the way that life happens, and sometimes we make good choices, sometimes we make bad choices, sometimes we get picked on by everybody, especially if their name's Trinity. Sometimes we get to eat good food, sometimes we eat bad food. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, just hope you feel better.
I appreciate you checking in. You're quite the upstanding citizen of the underworld.
Demora and Barnaby connect in that moment. And in that moment, I think Demora and Barnaby, you guys can both feel your magic kind of changing. Barnaby, you feel like you're losing something. And Demora, as you guys begin to rush through the forest, by the way, Trinity is at the front following these tracks. Michael, you're like in the barrel holding on to these magic thorns. As you guys move, you see that the favor of Twig, that the slumbering forest is like congealing. There's like thick knotted branches and briars and things. As you go towards Dinamore, the forest gets more and more dangerous. Ren and Trinity, we are getting to a part of the slumbering forest that is more dangerous than you guys had ever been to before. This is the part of slumbering forest that you guys always did your best to avoid because it was so dangerous here. The sun begins to set and it becomes dusk. That moment of twilight where the sun is no longer visible in the sky and everything is framed in twilight darkness, a deep purple lavender that makes it so that there are shadows and yet no shadows everywhere. As you are moving through this space, you can see that the glowing thorns, the trees and briars literally part as you approach. So as you move, the forest like grows out of your way, but it gives you this very disquieting feeling, almost of like traveling through a tunnel as you move through this place. And even more upsetting, once these things part and you pass, they close up behind you again. Hatch.
I do make a point of relaying to them that Twig told me there was another group after ours, and that the stranger seemed did very at home in the forest and prayed over the wood that they chopped and all of that. I recount everything Twig told me.
You guys swap all your information. I assume Michael and Ren.
So wait, everything you just said, why did it take 3 hours to get that out of that tree?
Well, some people just aren't in a rush. He really was kind of chatty. Normally it would have taken 6.
You guys journey through this place. As you arrive, finally, the briars and trees open up. You are still in thick, haunted forest. The trees are somehow both covered in leaves, but look like almost like the trees are weeping, like sap runs down their sides. This place is filled with sleeping creatures, birds, beasts, and looking around, you see that there are tons of moss-covered stone. You realize this was once the capital city of Caverly. The forest has completely grown up everywhere. So it looks like ancient ruins everywhere, but the trees have crushed and crumbled everything. So it's this weird thing of, imagine a thick forest. So there are trees all clumped together. There aren't like open fields or like open grottos, but instead of there being grass, there is lichen covered stone. So there's no dirt here. It's like ruins swallowed up by thick trees. Through a small break in the deep purple dusk light, towering overhead, you see the only structure not consumed by trees, the dread castle of Dinamore. Michael.
Just to be safe, because Michael's gonna breathe through his water, because the last time everything was asleep, that means like we fell asleep too, so Michael's gonna breathe through his water.
Cool.
Also happens that Hatch can hold his breath for an hour, so when he notices that, it's just sort of like...
Awesome. I'm going to need everybody except Hatch and Michael to go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw. Talisman, what'd you get?
21.
Barnaby, what'd you get?
5.
And this is do you have an advantage against Fey things or no? I forget.
If this is a spell effect, I do.
Yes, in this case it is. So go ahead and roll again.
That is a 21.
Hey, very cool. Ren, that's you.
14, but if it's for sleep, magic can't put me to sleep as a...
There you go. Demora, what'd you get?
22.
22. And Trinity, let me know what you rolled as well.
Well, I rolled a nat 20, but it says here that oh, wait, 1 second.
I think you can't be put to sleep either because you're an elf.
Yeah, I can't be put to sleep anyways.
So as you guys begin to smell the like lavender and jasmine on the breeze, you feel cold and a little bit of rain start. Not a storm. There's no crack of thunder because it's the pitter patter of rain that puts you to sleep. All of you make it except for Frederick, who collapses and begins to slumber. Buford goes,
We could just leave him there. I mean,
oh yeah, what's Trinity gonna do?
Trinity's gonna be like, nah, we should keep him just in case it's like we gotta do like you have to give someone to me or something.
So we're gonna throw him up as a sacrifice. I like where your head's at, kid.
Michael is really upset the rain is ruining his perfect water.
Man, that Midnight Queen's already rubbing off on you, I tell you.
So funny. You guys all see, I'm just gonna ask for perception checks from everybody.
I will say, I don't know that I told you this, but Hatch has gained the observant feat, by the way.
Very good. In that case, add a +5 to this roll for the observant feat.
Perfect. Ooh, that's 31.
Did anybody here beat a 20 other than Hatch? Demora, what'd you get?
21.
Cool.
Wait, is this what's
Perception?
This? Insight? Perception.
You about to say
21.
Talisman?
21, awesome.
I think I interrupted you, sorry.
No, I didn't get a 20.
I'm gonna say that if some of you guys are like picking up Frederick to put him in the back of the wagon, Ren's doing that, Talisman's doing that. Demora and Michael, you guys looking around that 20, you notice something interesting about this part of the woods here, in that this area is totally covered with a lot of awesome statues. Caverly was a really beautiful kingdom back in the day. And you see that this area must have been an old cathedral because you see that there are a lot of gargoyles. There are a lot of like stone, sort of like that look like Abishai or like other kinds of like demons and something. They're big stone jaws with like wings and horns. These kind of like, they look like imps, but bigger, more muscular imps, right? Like 6 feet tall, sort of classic gargoyle shapes. With a 30, Hatch, you look and see where you're standing. The gargoyles are all stone still, but they all are facing you.
Yeah.
Hatch, you hear a voice in your mind. Well, heroes of Lyra, to have come so far and meddled so much. I only needed one more day, and you could have just gone to sleep forever. But instead, you'll have to be destroyed. Hatch, you see, or rather you hear the rumbling of stone begin to move as gargoyles surrounding you leap into action. We will begin next week's episode rolling initiative for the final episode of the Slumbering Forest in the Dread Castle of Dinamore. Tune in next week. Make sure to check out those links for direct relief. Donate if you've enjoyed the adventure. Our incredible heroes face down the Dread Castle of Dinamore and attempt their best to solve the prophecy. Tune in next week for the thrilling conclusion to the Slumbering Forest.